Hi, I'm Holly Medich from Bernardo's Star Breaks Whitney, and this is Daisy Had Mayzie by Dr. Seuss. It's hard to believe such a thing could be true, and I hope such a thing never happens to you. But it happened, they say, to poor Mayzie McGrew, and it happened like this. She was sitting one day at her desk in her school in her usual way, when she felt a small twitch on the top of her head. So Mayzie looked up, and she almost dropped dead. Something peculiar was going on there. A daisy was sprouting right out of her hair. Look at that. Behind her was sitting young Herman, Butch Strudel. This looks like a daisy up here on her noodle. It doesn't make sense. Why? It couldn't be so. A noodle's no place for a daisy to grow. Then up spoke another boy, Einstein Van Tass, the brightest young man in the whole of the class. It's a very odd place to be sprouting a daisy, but nevertheless, one is growing out Mayzie. Hey, look it, cried Butch. Right there in this room. Daisy had Mayzie, she's bursting in bloom. Miss Sneetcher, the teacher, came rushing up quick. Such nonsense, some child is playing a trick. Which one of you boys stuck that thing in her hair? You know that a daisy could never grow there. But teacher, said Butch, I saw the thing rise right out of her head with my very own eyes. Just give it a yank if you think I tell lies. But Miss Sneetcher had heard quite enough of his talk. Mayzie, hold still, let me grab at the stalk. Ouch! Hollered Mayzie. Quit yanking, Butch said. You're giving her pains. I bet those roots will go way into her brains. The kids in the class started shouting like crazy. Daisy head, Daisy head, Daisy head Mayzie. Children, be quiet, good grief and alas. Miss Sneetcher was shocked by the noise in her class. I've taught in this room 20 years, maybe more, but I have never seen anything like this before. I'll have to report it. You'll have to come now to the principal's office and show Mr. Grum. Now the principal, good Mr. Gregory Grum, was a very wise man, just as smart as they come. He knew more than anyone else in this nation about long division and multiplication. He knew all of the answers, why oceans are deep, why skies are so high and mountains are steep. He should have had the answer to this thing on Mayzie. My word, he declared, it's a genuine daisy. I've seen them quite often in fields growing wild, but never before on the head of a child. Now, what in the world ever made this thing sprout? I had no idea, but I'm going to find out. It says right here, daisies grow on the land, they grow between rocks, they also grow in sand. It mentions right here they can grow in a pot, but mentions the head of a girl, it does not. Daisies, it said, sometimes grow in Alaska, also Missouri, Rhode Island, Nebraska. They grow in Japan and Spain and Peru, in India, France, and Idaho too. They grow in South Boston and also in Rome. But why should they grow on this girl's little dome? Say, look it, said Mayzie. It's wilting, it's drooping. How wonderful, Mayzie. It soon will be dead, you'll be rid of the daisy. In just a few minutes our troubles will pass, declared Mr. Grum. Take her back to her class. Then the principal saw a most terrible sight. The daisy was dying, and that was all right. But the daisy was part of poor Mayzie McGrew, and Mayzie was starting to wilt away too. Teacher, said Grum, you know what I think? They're both going to die. Hurry, bring them a drink. That daisy, that girl's the worst problem in town. You take her away and you make her lie down. You lock her up tight in a room down the hall. There are quite a few numbers that I've got to call. Get Maisie's parents on the end of the line. I need them here quickly while there's still time. On the phone, Maisie's mum said, what's all the fuss? Then, goodness to Betsy, I'll catch the next bus. A call to the shoe store reached Mr. McGrew. He answered whilst holding a customer's shoe. Yes, this is... Oh no, I really must go. A doctor should see her, the principal said. An expert on plants like the one on her head. So he called Dr. Eisenbart, who said, what a trick, my stethoscope's packed. I'll be there in a tick. Wait, Doc, said his patient. I'll come along too. My brother's a vet and he knows this McGrew. When he heard, Finch the florist grabbed for his shears. "I'll be there as soon as my truck can shift gears." Meanwhile, poor late Mayzie lay down on a couch. The daisy slumped down on its leaves in a slouch. But the window was open because it was warm, and the sweet-smelling daisy attracted a swarm of bees. Bzzz. Bees? Bees! Whoop. The faster she ran, the faster they flew, so Mayzie kept running. What else could she do? She attempted to hide behind Officer Thatcher, who clapped out his hat like a bumblebee catcher. The bees took his hat, Thatcher said, "I'm no fool," and ran after Mayzie back to the school. Principal Grum didn't know what to do. "It's worse," cried Miss Schneiter. "Much worse than we feared. The daisy and Mayzie have both disappeared." Behind her came charging Mr. McGrew, chased by a customer chasing his shoe, Finch the florist, Dr. Eisenbart too, Dr. Eisenbart's patient, and Mrs. McGrew. Then through the window with Officer Thatcher, who slammed the pane shut so the bees couldn't catch her, jumped Mayzie McGrew to the floor in a splatter, with the daisy still there, except taller and fatter. Then the door opened wide, and the mayor stepped inside. At meetings and greetings there was none to compare. He was the best at long speeches, chock full of hot air. "I promise, my friends, that if I'm re-elected, this daisy on Mayzie shall be disconnected. The law of our fathers is simple and sound. Daisies belong and should stay in the ground. The rest are illegal. We'll bar them from town." From the back came a voice, sometimes loud, sometimes slick, of a wheeler and dealer who knew every trick. "I'm Finnegal the agent. You've heard of me, I'm sure. I represent young, what's-his-name, and others now on tour. But Mayzie, you're special. Please let me shake your hand. Your talent is a wondrous thing, unique in the land. Daisy Head Mayzie, spell out in bright light. We'll draw kids in day and parents at night. Daisy Head Mayzie, you've got quite an act. Just stick with me, kid, and sign this contract. Your flower needs to sign too." Her mother said, "Mayzie, don't be a fool," and the principal begged her not to leave school, but Mayzie didn't stop to blink. She signed her name in think-proof ink, and the daisy signed too. Daisy Head fever was gripping the nation. It had quickly become a worldwide sensation. And Daisy had burgers, and Daisy had drinks, Daisy had stockings, and Daisy had sinks, Daisy had buttons, Daisy had bows. Mayzie was famous, the star of her shows. Fame had knocked on Maisie's door. Now she had it, and more. Piles of money, stacked in tens. But what money without friends? A dream had led her far astray, and that was the price that she had to pay. Mayzie McGrew ran night and day, nowhere to go and nowhere to stay, because she was sure that everyone must have written her off in total disgust. Over and over again in her head, there are words that poor Mayzie said. "I can never go home. Nobody loves me. Nobody loves me. Nobody loves me." Nobody loved her? Poor Daisy McGrew. It's hard to believe such a thing could be true. And maybe that's why then the daisy above, when Mayzie below began talking in love. Well, you know about daisies when love is in doubt. A job is a daisy of a daisy. Try and find out. They love her. They love her not. They love her. They love her not. Don't worry, Mayzie. They love you. They love me? Well, this is how it happened. The thing went away, and Mayzie McGrew is quite happy today, back at her studies, and just doing great in all of her subjects in room number 8. And concerning the daisy, you know that it never grew out of the top of her head again, ever. Well, it practically never popped up there again, excepting occasionally, just now and then. And, after all, she's getting used to it.